Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Sugar Mama's Fire Play podcast. I am licensed and qualified financial planner, Canna Campbell. Now, a quick reminder, please make sure you refer to my general advice warning. None of my content is either financial advice, personal advice, investment advice. It's here for your education, inspiration, and knowledge. Today, this is a really powerful podcast. It's a debt-free podcast. We're chatting with April, who's from Illinois. She's a school teacher. And guess how much debt she has managed to pay off in exactly 11 months and 13 days. Guess how much? $100,000. Isn't that just insane? April, jump on.
It's very exciting. Very exciting. And thank you for having me.
No, thank you for sharing your story, because someone comes on to my podcast and shares their story. I'm always so grateful because it creates a shift and a new wave and an increasingly powerful wave, and helping people create a better life for themselves, one with a lot less financial stress. And I've spoken about this so many times in the past about when you eliminate or reduce your financial stress, it benefits so many other components and areas in your life. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. I've been debt-free for almost exactly a month. Tomorrow will be a month. So in your time, it is a month. In my time, I have one more day. The amount of stress and just the lightness that I feel is very unexpected.
The lightness is a big one. Feeling of debt, and obviously there's healthy debt and there's toxic debt. That toxic debt carries some very heavy emotional, energetic weight of resentment, remorse, guilt, shame, embarrassment. Life's too short to have that going on in your life, especially when you have the opportunity to create better things. And as you say, tell me about the lightness you're experiencing.
I just always felt like I had a cloud of what if over me. What if something happens with the car? Are we going to be able to pay for it? What if one of the kids gets hurt during sports, or if they need dental work done? Those are very expensive things. Are we going to have a medical bill that's going to be sent to collections? It was just always a what if, and we never had, I don't want to say that we were drowning in debt. It was manageable, but we never had anything safe. A few years ago, my husband actually did get laid off from his job about 6 years ago. And we had been working to save money at that point. So we were okay, but we were not in that situation this time, so it was always that heaviness of fear, really, and of what if. And now that all of that is alleviated, I just literally feel like I can take a breath and I can look around and be instead of being so focused on what if, I can look around and enjoy my children and enjoy my husband and enjoy our home, and just be okay, if something happens with the car, that's not ideal, but we are able to cover it now.
You have that new strength and that resilience, and I can handle a problem now because I've got the toxic debt out of the way. And also there's now choice and opportunity.
Freedom to be we just did over the weekend decide to book a small trip for me and my husband. And we wouldn't have been able to do that before. We're going to be able to go on vacation in the summertime, and we don't have to worry about paying for that. It's time. It's a gift of time.
It's a better way to live.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you for everything you did to pay off the $100,000 in less than 12 months.
I made a list.
Okay, great. Okay, listeners, you're in for a treat today. But before we begin, I want to ask you, how did you get into this much debt in the first place? Was it old habits creeping up over time? Was it just burying your head in the sand? Was it an incident that happened in your life? How did you get here? Because you're a school teacher. You're a smart woman.
I'm a school teacher. We don't make a huge living, but we do make a good living, I would say. My husband and I have been married, or we've been together going on 7 years. So we both kind of brought a little bit of debt into marriage. We do have 4 kids. We have 4 boys. One of them is an adult and is out of the house, and the other 3 are still with us. So of course, children are expensive. They're starting to drive, so they have, vehicles. So we had a personal loan and we had a couple of credit cards, and we stopped using those credit cards about 4 years ago, but we still hadn't managed to pay them all off. And then we had some medical and dental bills. When we got together, we decided to buy a boat. And
did you borrow to buy that boat? Dare I ask?
It was probably not the best decision because we had it for 4 years and we probably used it 6 times. So it literally was this huge monthly payment that we got no return from.
Yeah.
And then we had 2 vehicles, or we have 2 vehicles, but they had payments attached to them, and then our mortgage. And we live on a 27-acre ranch, and we have cows and chickens, and we had pigs and stuff like that. So we're trying to do everything. We were trying to live all of these different lives, and so I feel like the debt kind of happened organically. This is just what you do. You have to get a car loan to get a car. You need to do this because this other person has a boat, or you're trying to prove to your past life that you're doing really good. So we went and got this big boat. The kids needed this, so we didn't have the cash. We put it on the credit card. It just kind of all happened. And then we turned around one day and it was like this giant monster. Then, I don't know, then the pandemic happened and everything was just cut off.
Massive wake-up call on so many different levels, and hidden blessings in disguise as well from the pandemic.
And I was lucky enough. I'm a teacher, so I didn't lose my job. I'm a technology teacher, so I was able to help the rest of the staff in my district to be able to teach via Zoom or Google Meets and things like that. My husband works for the municipality, the town that we live in, so he didn't lose his job. So when so many other people were really losing their jobs and not able to pay for things, we were okay, but it was a huge wake-up call. What if we didn't have those jobs? What would we do? We would literally have lost our home to be able to pay for these other debts, and we just weren't okay with that.
The fear from the what if was your catalyst to go, all right, let's get rid of this debt.
Yeah, and actually found myself during the pandemic being cut off, because in lockdown, as you well know, you only have the people that are in your very small home. And I found myself shopping and shopping and shopping, like watching people on YouTube and them saying, oh, look at how great this is. And I'd be like, oh, well, I need that to feel better. Or ended up buying 4 of the same lipsticks. And I was like looking at these lipsticks going, what in the world? And then I just got on YouTube and looked up how to stop shopping addiction. And I came across your video.
That video is, I've got to make it again. It is probably my 3rd or 4th most popular video. It's had hundreds of thousands of views. And it's one that people commented on almost every single day. Doing some content around this with some special shopping hacks to basically, rewire your brain when it comes to shopping. But it really tackles where people are at right now. And you're not alone with the online shopping. Yeah. I saw the other day on someone's account, it was during lockdown here, and she said on her Instagram account, a llama could turn up at my front door and I wouldn't blink because I've done so much online shopping. I don't even know what I've ordered anymore. I've forgotten. They've done so much.
And that's how it was with the lipsticks. I was like, I don't even remember buying these. And they were all 3 in the same color. And I went back and checked and I was like, there's a problem here. Yeah. And it just was like that catalyst along with your video and just having to sit down and actually look at everything was just like enough with the madness.
All right. So you and your husband have had your wake-up call. You're right. That's it. We're taking control of the situation. Did you sit down and add up who you owed money to and look at the total? And I would have, if you did, I imagine it would have been quite a sickening feeling.
Yes, we did.
Because I look at that and go, that's a lot of money to pay back, which is such a huge testament to your focus, your strength, your discipline. But you also did an incredible amount of time. Like that's, I think, a record. So how?
Thank you. I already had a budget and just a monthly operating budget. I did not have the 3 different accounts that you talked about. I was already investing through a financial advisor into an IRA monthly. And then I have my retirement account. So those things were already taking place, but I really hadn't looked at anything as a whole. So I sat down and looked at my budget, which was correct, but I didn't put the total amount dues, the balance of each of those loans. So I just went down my already budgeted list and wrote down the totals of everything that we owed and then added it all up. And it was over $100,000. If you included our mortgage, it was close to $300,000. I almost got sick.
Yeah, I actually had my stomach is turning because I'm almost replaying my head as though it was me sitting in that situation, looking at the numbers, and my head's kind of spinning a little bit, like as to what you would have experienced in your body.
And I didn't, I took it to my husband and I was like, this is how much money we owe. I know you're not really supposed to count your mortgage in, but I went ahead and did it anyway. We have land, so the mortgage is it was pretty big, but not as big as like somebody that lives in LA. And I just said, I can't do this anymore. We've got to figure this out. And he agreed. And we started with paying the smallest thing off first and then kind of snowballed like Dave Ramsey's snowball, but not exactly. Because once we got to the credit cards, we looked at the credit cards and decided to pay off the one that had the highest interest rate first. And so we took the snowball from the medical bills and the personal loan and put that onto the highest interest rate and then just kept paying things off. We spent a lot of time going back and forth with the level of lifestyle that we had and like looking at the boat, like, yes, we wanted to have the boat. We had fun the times that we used it, but the time in our life with our children involved in many extracurricular activities, we literally just didn't have the time, definitely didn't have the money to keep paying almost $500 a month on this large piece of equipment that we never got to use. So
equipment that's depreciating in value. I mean, it's like both like cars and electronic equipment. Like the moment you drive out of the car yard, it's dropped in value by 20 to 30% within seconds.
And we found that out. We decided to go ahead and put the boat up for sale, and it took us a very long time to sell the boat. And when we did sell it, we sold it at a loss. So we had to come up with the money to finish out the loan to be able to actually complete the sale.
The shortfall.
Yeah. So we did that. We decided that we didn't need the number of farm animals that we had, so we sold livestock. My husband is very talented with carpentry, so he took on building and handyman jobs for people in our area. He built a garage, and that brought in, several $1,000s. I sold our chickens' eggs.
It all adds up, though. It all adds up.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's the law of momentum maybe, but I say to people never, and I do this personally, I might have an opportunity to earn, say, $10. I'll show the same respect and gratitude to that of earning, say, $100. That success builds success. That $10 opportunity or that $5 opportunity then leads to a $15 opportunity that leads to a $50 opportunity. Like you've got to just run with all the opportunities and be open and respectful and grateful at all the times, because it all does add up.
Well, and I felt so silly when I was, talking. I was like, really, do I want to put on Facebook that we're selling eggs? Like, what are people going to think? And it was like this hump of like social pariah fear. And as soon as I put it out there, I had like 10 people that were like, I want a dozen. And I was like, that's $30 right there. And it went into an envelope. It was great. And then that just kept building. So even the little chicken egg, they made a difference. We told our kids we're going to pack snacks to the baseball game instead of going to the concession stand while you have baseball. We're going to bring waters instead of buying sodas. Small changes like that, like just reevaluating how we did things and putting that effort in. I mean, it was effort. And sometimes it was easier just to say, we want to go out to dinner or we want to go to the drive-through and pick something up instead of, I'd just be like, nope, we can't do that. Or my husband would be like, nope, we can't do that. So he was strong when I needed him to be strong. And then I was strong when he needed me to be strong. And it was a good teamwork.
Teamwork is so important. And, and my manager, Corey Cooper, says, like, teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah,
And
I say that a lot.
Yeah, it's like, and I say it to my kids now as well, but I love that you share this with your kids. You're like, no, kids, we're going to pack snacks. And it sets a really responsible and respectful example to your children, not to be mindless and wasteful with money themselves. And it's not even necessarily obviously it's a great money saving hack, but it's also a great waste saving hack. You're not buying something wrapper and in a bag and with a plastic straw. It's it's a reusable water bottle. There are multiple benefits from doing that as beyond the financial savings, and they're good healthy habits to have, because quite often zero waste involves organically a healthier choice in what we feed our bodies. What you guys have achieved is just absolutely incredible. And there would have been times surely that you were like, oh, this is exhausting. I let's stop or let's break. Like, did that happen, and how did you get through it?
Yes. Yeah, we still kind of built things in. We did still go out to dinner once a week with some dear friends of ours. We allowed that for us. And once a month, we build in time to do something special with the kids. We still did go on vacation, but we paid only cash. And we went with our friends. So we split the amount of the vacation house. So that was helpful.
Great idea.
So, and when we were on vacation, we cooked there and only went out to eat twice. So just small things like that. But yeah, sometimes it was like you just wanted to throw your hands up and stop the fight. But then I would turn on one of your videos. I did a lot in your books. Your books were so great and so encouraging. Mm-hmm. Or just at that time that I wanted to give up, I would be asked to substitute teach, and then I would have that extra money come in. So it was like just a rainfall of kind of perfect opportunities and good choices. But it really did take effort. It took a lot of effort, and it took a lot of soul searching. The final drive to get us to the rest, probably the last half of the amount of money of the 100,000 that we paid off, we actually decided to sell half of our land.
That's actually a really smart move. Like subdividing and rezoning land can be very efficient in just clearing some debt, especially if it's land that you're not necessarily using, because land can be very valuable.
Yeah.
Depending on where it is.
Once we had sold some of our livestock, we realized that we really didn't need about 15 acres. It was more land that we needed for where we felt happy, the medium that we felt happy with our cows. It took a while, and it took some convincing of my husband, because land is one of those things that there's not more being made. Yeah. So it's a very final decision. And I think that was scary for both of us. But all in all, I think it was one of the best decisions that we could have ever made. And then, so once we decided to do that, it took about 6 weeks for that land to sell. And then we were able to pay off the final amount on our vehicles and then put a good amount of money down on our mortgage. We didn't pay the whole mortgage off, but we had paid everything off except for what we had remaining on the 2 vehicles. And then we would have to satisfy for the mortgage what portion we sold of it. So we paid almost $28,000 to pay off the 2 vehicles, and then $35,000 on our mortgage. Now we are completely debt free except of our mortgage. And it's crazy. It was so crazy to not have to make those payments at the end of the month.
How does it feel now to see savings in your account? Because all this cash flow was obviously, and I excuse me for a second, I just couldn't explain this. Whenever I'm talking to someone about debts and I'm doing some coaching work with someone, I will say it's like an energy vampire. You're having to repay that energy back for your history. Whereas once you're in the savings mode, you get to keep all that energy for yourself. And
right.
Because you're keeping that energy for yourself, your energy and your focus and your lightness only multiplies and grows from there. Feel now that you've made that shift from being on a debt-free journey to now being in a wealth creation or a financially abundant space.
the first thing that I can describe it as feeling is safe.
Mm.
I no longer feel like I'm going to fall off the edge of something or that I'm hanging on to the edge of something for dear life. I feel a sense of safety, a sense of security. And it almost brings me to tears because I haven't felt that in my adult life.
Wow.
So just being able to know that everything is okay, and that if something catastrophic was to happen, if one of us was to lose our jobs, we have 10 months worth of expenses in an emergency fund.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to give us that time that we would need to get back on our feet if that ever happened. So that is insane. And also it almost is, you have to, if possible, I wish that somebody would create content that tells you how to live life after you're debt free, because it's a completely different mindset. You have to retrain your brain because you're so used to being in one mode.
Well, you're in survival, fight or flight mode when you're in debt. So when you get into I call it the abundant space, that is where you must use the lessons and the growth and the wisdoms you've learned from going through that debt-free journey to one where you only continue onwards and upwards in that trajectory where you have savings. So you have that safety. And that's why I always say to people, I know you want to start investing, but get rid of the debt first, then build some savings. So that, because obviously investing is a long-term journey as well, but you've got to have the time for your money to obviously go through the peaks and troughs of market movements in whichever type of investment you choose. But moving into that investing space, yes, it is definitely a different mindset because you're looking now for opportunities. You're capturing and quarantining and harvesting even those savings to help grow more so for the future. And that's what, stepping into that investing space. And that's where the beauty of the $1,000 project begins, because that's where you can take as little as $1,000 at a time and just going and purchasing some ETFs or some listed investment companies or some individual companies that you want to own, or maybe it's investment properties, or maybe it's bonds, whatever the person may be. But you start to step into a much healthier place of gratitude, and you're watching your wealth grow, and it's an easier space to be because you go from strength to strength. But it's just like the debt-free journey. It's not straight, and where you're just paying off $1,000 a month in debt. It's paying off $2,000 to then go back maybe $500 to get $3,000. It's up and down all the time.
Yes.
So is investing. It's less up and down because it's more contributing, but there are times where, for example, I might invest through $1,000 project, $1,000 per 1 month, but then the next month I might do $2,000 or $3,000. And then the next month I might do no investing because I have no side hustles or hacks going on at the moment, or something else in my life. So it is still a journey, but it's an easier, lighter, more rejuvenating and revitalizing one, because you're going from strength to strength, where the debt side is, as I said, fight or flight. It's survival mode, and it's easier to be more grateful when you're in that wealth side. And that's why I talk about mindful money, having that mindful money number that you work towards. So you take the same energy, focus, and motivation from the debt to then transfer it into even strengthening and securing your wealth further. But enough from me. Sorry, I totally.
No, that's exactly it. And I'm so grateful to have had the roadmap, because I felt like I had the budgeting down pretty well, but we were just going through our lives, and in the back of my mind, just from teaching, I know that America in particular has a negative savings rate. So you're constantly around people that are living the same type of lifestyle that you're living and trying to keep up with the Joneses and everything. And then at some point you just realize this is not living abundantly. I don't want to live like everybody else. And then, so it's kind of like paddling against the current. But once you get upriver and you look back and you can see all those rapids that you swam through and fought through to get to the top, it's such a feeling of accomplishment, and you just don't even care what other people are doing.
You want them to come and join you upstream. Like come over to the side. It's much nicer here, and also the rapids, because of where you've gotten through those currents and those rapids, you're in a safe space now, and you know how to work with the rapids to get you to the next destination. Like, because you're smarter now, you've got more awareness, you're so much more accountable as well. Like, and also you're aware of your own strength. If you can get out of $100,000 in debt, you got to remember you've also been paying interest in that debt journey, so it's probably even more. Imagine what you can do in 3 years with saving and investing, using the same hacks, or even a third of the hacks what you've been using. Like, there's a really exciting future ahead of you now, because you've gone through an incredible journey, and that's exciting.
I think that we're hooked. Just this past week, instead of having to put money on the debt, we were actually able to buy our first investments.
Oh, and
we took our first.
You're doing it already.
Well, my husband's been interested in it for a while, and I, showed him your book, and I was like, why don't we try this and try to put $1,000 a time, aside, and then we can invest it, and you'll do 500 and I'll do 500, and we'll see if our strategies are different. We almost made it like a game. And we were kind of talking about it at dinner, and our kids were asking us, what are you talking about? So then we got to talk. They knew that we were going through the debt-free journey, and we finally told them, we paid everything off, and now we're looking at investing. And so now they're looking at investing. And they are like, wait a minute, you mean you can buy parts of a company and be an owner, and then they pay you for doing that? And we're like, that's a thing. So now they're kind of hooked, and we're just kind of going through this as a family smartly, small packets at a time, but making sure that they understand about savings. And it's really just been so impactful, and I don't want to lose momentum on it at all.
You won't lose motivation at all. You won't lose momentum. You'll have respites where you take a breather and a break, and a well-deserved break, and then you'll get back on it and you'll make up for lost time. So please don't ever worry about that. That's the least of your concerns. It's interesting, I have to say, one thing when you said at the beginning of this podcast, you said, our debt was manageable. Now, this is the biggest catch, or I guess danger with debt.
I agree.
People who are in debt, they're like, oh, I don't need to worry about my debt because it's manageable. No, you don't. You need to get out of debt. That's not to stay in debt, is because it's manageable. You need to, that's great that it's manageable, because obviously the opposite of that is drowning in debt and can't keep your head above water. But you actually need to get that debt paid off. No one should ever be walking around saying my debt is manageable unless it's healthy debt, which is helping you grow your wealth.
Right.
An investment debt. And I think this is where so many people
it's a trap.
It's a trap, yeah. And that's why they go and buy a boat or borrow money to go on holiday, or, because it's always manageable, But we're also in internationally record low times for interest rates around the world. It could very easily be not manageable for a lot of people. And that's the tide, people start saying, people who've been swimming naked get caught out when the tide changes,
I agree completely. And the way that everything is marketed to us, and even when you look at your bills when they come in the mail, the biggest thing on the bill is the small monthly payment that you're supposed to be making. And the smallest thing on the bill is the total that you owe. So if people would, you're just looking at it, and so many people don't even have a monthly list to keep track of what bills they're paying or when they're paying them. They don't even have the basic of budgets. I did have a basic of budget. I knew when my bills were due and what my bills were. I just wasn't looking at the big picture. But there's so many people, and I encounter it every day just speaking with my students, are like, we don't know what our bills are. They just come in the mail, and then we try and pay them. It's just so normalized. Debt is so normalized, and spending and immediate gratification, the instant gratification that we live in, it's just so normalized that you don't even realize that you've been trapped until you're drowning.
Yeah, definitely. Look, that brings me to my next question as we begin to sort of wrap up. For someone who's listening to this going, I can resonate with everything you're saying, April. This is my awakening. This is my catalyst for change. Now is my time to begin my debt-free journey. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. There'll be setbacks, but I can do it. And I want that lightness that April's talking about. where do you recommend they start?
I would recommend that they start by saying, I can.
Mindset.
Not that I want to, but I can do this. And anywhere that you can write it down, write it down.
Yeah.
I can do this. This is what I want. Because if you're not in the mindset that you're going to win, then you're never going to get there.
And also taking into consideration the time, like what you've done is phenomenal in such a short period of time. And I do believe in having deadlines, a defined date. We say I want to achieve this much debt by this date, but it's okay if it takes longer. Just keep going.
I did have an original deadline. I'm 42 right now. And when we started this, I said I wanted to be debt-free by the time I was 45. And wow. I'm not quite 43 yet. I'll be 43 in February. So I did it well before the timeline. But I think that that's healthy. And then just really being honest with yourself is, you have to make yourself have that wake-up call and almost get to the point where you do make yourself sick, because you just have to be fed up with it. If I would say that we're upper middle class if we had a class, but we have, a pretty good living, but a normal living. If me and my husband can do this with 3 children still at home, not toddlers, we have children that are in high school. So they're involved in very many things, and there's a lot of expenses. If we can do this, then anybody can do it. You just have to want to do it. You just have to want to do it and make it happen.
Beautifully said, and so perfectly accurate and true. You've got to want to do it. You've got to want change. You've got to say, I'm sick of living a life like this. I'm sick of struggling. I'm sick of living paycheck to paycheck. I'm sick of finding out, as your friends do, or your students, I should say, like we were finding the money to try and pay. No, that's not good enough. It should be, we have the money to pay, and we have the money to pay off, and we have savings, and we have passive income from our investments. Yes. I'm so proud, and I'm so honored and grateful for you to be able to share this debt-free story
Thank you.
With this community. It's so important. And your story, particularly debt-free podcast, whenever I publish one, I get inundated by messages through Instagram. And I always reply back of people who've said, I listened to this and it's changed my life, and I've listened to that and this is what I've achieved. I can't tell you how powerful sharing your story is. And I'm sure it's not easy to share the warts and all, and we are airing our dirty laundry at times, but it's what creates the shift and the change to a healthier, better life that we all deserve.
The podcast that I listen to on your podcast and the videos on your cash flow and just minimalism, considering a different mindset, just the flow of money and honoring the flow of money. Those are the things that I turned to when I was at those low moments. I just don't want to fight anymore, because you do get there, but just having that support and I wasn't even able to look around locally to find the support. And many people are not going to be able to do that, but there are resources out there. And if I can be one of those resources, then that makes all of the fight worth it.
Well, April, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Kenna.
Like a massive congratulations to what you and your husband and your family teamwork. It is incredible. And I would love to touch base with you in a year's time or whatever is
absolutely
and hear where you've gone to from here, because I have a feeling you've got an exciting life ahead of you, and one where you will never look back, and you will go from strength to strength and achieve, and not just achieve, kick some serious financial goals ahead of you.
I hope so.
No more debt, but a life filled with lots of savings in your bank accounts and investments in your investment portfolio.
Thank you so much. That is my goal.
Well, for all the listeners out there, if you would like to touch base and connect with April, I'll make sure I link her Instagram account, and obviously I'll be tagging you in a photograph if that's okay.
Yes, that's fine.
For everyone listening, please, if you catch yourself thinking it's fine, my debt's manageable, please know that you deserve better and you can have it better. And you deserve everything that you achieve along the way. And it's a journey that you will enjoy, because you will experience so much profound growth and personal development that will only enrich your life beyond your bank account and your investments. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to Sugar Mama's Fire Play podcast. I am financial planner. And of course, a quick shout out to please make sure you are following us on our Instagram account at Sugar Mama TV, because this is where I provide you with all those quick, easy access swipe up links to all of our content the moment it goes live. All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week and please leave a rating and a review if you can. Ciao for now.